Steve Jobs once said, "Creativity is just connecting things." When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little guilty because they didn't really do it, they just saw something. It seemed obvious to them after a while. That's because they were able to connect experiences they've had and synthesize new things. I'm here to help you understand and appreciate the mystery of what it's like behind the artist's eyes. Being an artist myself, my life is my art. Through my experiences and the things I find beautiful, I have been able to channel my inspiration and creativity into the art I hold dear to my heart. I was always really fascinated by space growing up, and it really struck me when I got to meet an astronaut at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Story Musgrave was extremely inspiring, and when he gave his presentations, he had all of these magnificent photographs of what he saw from the International Space Station, and it didn't even seem real when he talked about them. It was like he got to see an entirely different world that only so very few got the privilege of experiencing. I wanted to be a part of his world, his reality, but there was no way I would ever become an astronaut overnight. It wasn't until years later that I started to experiment with painting space. Story Musgrave's photos were always in the back of my mind, and I wanted to see the things that he saw. I wanted to feel the same sense of wonder and awe that he felt. I wanted to know what it was like to see the Earth overlooking space and how thrilling it must have been. So I gave it a try, and I had to show my mom. When she saw it, she stood there in silence and began to cry. She said it reminded her of how she always wanted to be an astronaut like Story, and my paintings gave her a little window into a lost dream she left behind. I always find myself thinking about that moment and how inspiring it was for me. I never would have thought my art could have had such an impact on someone. I didn't really think my art could tug at a person's heartstrings, let alone make them cry. But I knew that every piece after my first would be better than the last, and I wanted all my future pieces to have an impact on people just as my first impacted my mom. I want to create art that inspired myself and others. I had to think of new ways to captivate. I had to let those creative juices flow. As I painted more, I was constantly trying to find new ways to make my work real and different. New textures, color combinations, shapes, shading, anything to improve. I'm constantly looking at pictures of nebulas in space and waiting for an idea to click. Pinterest has been my best friend when it comes to finding new ideas. I could start a painting, but something would be missing. I could see it, but I couldn't figure out exactly what it was. I would ask my mom a lot of the time to get her input on what would give my art that special touch. Sometimes she knew exactly what it needed, and others she didn't. Many times I was left staring at my painting, completely stumped on what it needed, and by that time it was 2 in the morning, so I would just sleep on it. Almost every time, creativity would come to me like a frying pan to the back of the head, and I couldn't wait to finish. I never know how the ideas come, they just do. It's like fitting a puzzle together. Once you find that piece to go in that empty hole, it just fits. That piece was always there, I just had to find it. My brushes are the way I translate my creativity into the art I paint. They understand me, the way they fit into my hand, the way they move to the rhythm of my thoughts and imagination. It just works. I don't know how to explain how I create the things that I do. All I know is that the art runs through my veins, and I am happy with what I'm capable of. The things I am capable of baffle me at times. If you ask me exactly how it all happens, I really wouldn't be able to tell you. All I can tell you is that it just happens, like the gust of wind on a sunny day, or how a flower knows when to bloom. It just is. From that, I have found my inspiration through others, and my creativity bringing itself to light in forms of brushstrokes and epiphanies. Art isn't about making things complicated or even glorifying the fact that someone can be creative. The fact of the matter is that we're all creative in our own special way. Whether you're an architect, a culinary chef, a mom, a filmmaker, an IT engineer, there is creativity in all the things we do and make. I channel my creativity through painting nebulas, but creativity is not found. It's a part of all of us, and I find that admirable. Through the impact of the people we meet, we find inspiration. Impact is inspirational.